they are going into a third game, I would imagine here.
Yeah, this looks like this is the match from before. Like we talked about, Dustin played Andrew earlier, beat him pretty effortlessly. Dustin also beat another Charlotte's Bug player on camera. There's just a lot of tools Reanimator has, and it uses the graveyard, and Andrew has actually no answers to the graveyard.
Yep.
In the 75. So we're going to have to see this third game. We don't know who's on the play. I would assume that Dustin will be on the play because I'm assuming he won game one, which Reanimator likes to do. But we'll get word from that soon about who is going first here.
Yeah, Andrew's major tool that he has in this matchup is Deathrite Shaman, obviously. That's a pretty efficient way of breaking up the graveyard. And one of the reasons that decks like Reanimator and Dredge have declined in recent months. Deathrite Shaman has, over time, become a staple in a variety of archetypes, many of which decks like Reanimator and Dredge used to prey upon, just honest three-color control decks that you used to be very happy when you got paired up against. Now, Deathrite Shaman gives those kind of decks a real puncher's chance.
Right. Dustin came to the booth and we were talking a little bit about sideboarding against Charlotte's Bug, not Andrew in specific, and he has 4 Pithy Needle on the board, and I gave him a suggestion that 4 is a little too many. You don't want to water down your deck just for Deathrite Shaman. He named Jace, he named Liliana, and when he got 2 out, Dustin lost the game horribly because those Pithy Needles were other things. They were card draw that he boarded out. They were hand disruption that he boarded out. So on the play, here's how Dustin's going to deal with Deathrite Shaman, in my opinion. You have 4 Thoughtseize, you have 2 Days, you have 4 Force of Wills, all can target it. Worst case scenario, you don't have any of that stuff. He gets Deathrite Shaman out, then you go turn 2, Low Spell, Show and Tell, kill you. So Deathrite Shaman, pretty good, but what's Dustin going to do? He's going to board in his other 2 Show and Tells, go up to 4 Show and Tell in this matchup, and be able to sneak in Grizzlebrand around Andrew's only graveyard hater.
Yep. And what's interesting about decks, like Reanimator and Dredge, because Deathrite Shaman is in decks, there's been sort of this cascading influence it's had on the metagame. People sort of skimp on graveyard hate in general. You don't see 4 ley lines in sideboards like you used to 2 years ago or a year and a half ago.
Survival of the fittest times.
You don't see as many surgical extractions or extirpates, and there's 2 reasons. One, a lot of people assume that, well, I have Deathrite Shaman, that broadly speaking, alongside my Force of Wills and Thoughtseizes, covers the graveyard matchups. And secondly, people aren't going to be playing these graveyard decks anymore because, well, Deathrite Shaman's everywhere, and you're going to be battling in a 9-round tournament. You're probably going to be battling against this card at least 3 or 4 of those rounds.
Right. And generally, and that's the consensus. And you actually and them are right for the most part. Reanimator, we don't see a lot of it played, but hey, if you don't have that graveyard hate, if you're only running Deathrite Shaman, then you know what, I'm going to punish you. I'm going to play this deck that people forgot about, and I'm going to definitely put in these Grizzlebrands and see if you can deal with that.
Yeah, and people are just skimping on graveyard hate anymore.
Right.
I think,
it's good to be a dinosaur like me. Just leave it in the board.
Is it, if you're someone who's looking to play Reanimator or Dredge, maybe your game 1s have gotten worse against some decks because Deathrite Shaman's thing, but I assure you your games 2 and 3 have gotten a lot better across the board because there just isn't the same saturation of dedicated Tormod, Crypt, Leyline, Surgical Extraction type cards.
If Reanimator could beat Rest in Peace and beat Surgical Extraction, I guarantee you if all they have is Deathrite Shaman and you're an experienced Reanimator player, you'll be able to beat a single targeted tap it, remove something from the graveyard creature card.
Yeah, and Dustin's been putting on a show of that so far today. In our 2-7 matchup, Jake Shue has defeated Alex Olson 2-0 in the ad nauseum mirror match. So,
right, well, the bazooka has...
someone had to die.
Yeah, someone died, yeah.
Sorry, Alex.
Yeah, a lot of tendrils coming out. Monster ate him up. All right, so Dustin, I think, is shipping here.
Yeah.
And it looks like Andrew is keeping... I think Andrew is on the draw.
Yeah, he's appears to be laying out his hand like someone who is keeping his 7.
Okay, so we're going to pile shuffle here. It's important to Dustin. He has a lot of pressure on him. He also feels like this match was very good for him. Andrew, after seeing who he's playing against, I'm sure had a big sigh of disbelief and kind of probably a little disgusted because the only deck Andrew has lost to today is this deck here.
Yeah, no, I had an open in Los Angeles a few years back where the room was all, Bug decks. This is pre-Charlotte's Agent, but still, your him Jace control decks or whatever.
Yeah.
I was playing Burn, and the matchups I played all day long were these cakewalk 3-color control decks with all non-basics and nothing that mattered.
Yeah, I mean, it burn you now, right?
And then my top 8 match, I obviously drew Storm and was quickly defeated. So I know the feeling of having a room full of good matchups and then running into your nemesis in the top 8.
It's awful. It's awful. And it's funny because Combo, even though it's so good in Legacy, is still on the minority side. Definitely more decks out there like Stoneblade, Rug Delver, and these beatdown decks than there are combo decks. All right, so Dustin is keeping his 6 here. Let's see if he's able to take control of the game here. So careful study. Really good turn 1 for Dustin. If he pitches a creature here and has a reanimate, and Andrew doesn't have a force, the game is maybe over.
Yeah, it can be that fast.
It can be that fast. And I see, is that Grizzlebrand? That is, and I think I see an animate dead. I think this could be, and this is a situation where I talked about the death right here is too slow.
Doesn't
The situation, and on the draw, it's not enough. And skimping on the sideboard, like you said, this is where you really pay the ultimate price here.
We're going to see. I mean, Andrew has a lot of responses you can have this opening.
Right.
You can have a Thoughtseize, you can have Force of Will. You can
Absolutely.
actually have both.
So this is not over yet. It could be, but it's definitely not. I think I see a Brainstorm. I hope Dustin didn't draw. I hope he drew that because I think it would have been safer to hold back in case he does have Thoughtseize, which he does not. Deathrite Shaman.
So now we might be putting him to a test right now to see if he has Force of Will.
Doesn't exhume off the top if he didn't already have an Animate Dead. And he doesn't have a choice here. I don't think you can't pass turn with Deathrite Shaman open. You need to go for it here.
Yeah, I mean Dustin's hand is forced too.
Dustin's thinking about it. I mean, he's in the top 8 of an open. He really wants to advance to the next round. Even though this is a pretty obvious decision for him, he's a bit nervous and thinking about it. It's a reanimate, excuse me, not an exhume.
Well, he might be debating between the merits of the two.
Oh, well, I think we definitely reanimate while we can, right? Or maybe actually, I definitely exhume probably because there's no days in this format. I think I'd rather have my cheaper one later. There's definitely an argument to it. Reanimate now while you actually have the life to do so is also not too bad.
Well, the flip side is he has Brainstorm in hand, like you said, so he can possibly find resistance in the event that Andrew has.
Oh yeah, he can.
If Andrew has Force of Will, he might be able to find something.
Ooh,
the flip side is the life matters, as you mentioned.
Right. So he's definitely reanimating here, but he's gonna Brainstorm first. Do we see a force? I don't see a force.
Yeah, Andrew has to keep up appearances and think about it there, but
Iona, that's going to easily get shuffled away. We don't got time for Iona. It's Grizzle time.
Yeah, I mean, again, hands are forced here. He's drawn a Thoughtseize, but that doesn't really matter too much because he can't let Andrew on top of the Charlotte with his Deathrite Shaman.
Absolutely not. This is actually going to be, and these are the kind of hands that Reanimator has, and if you are shallow and your sideboard has holes in it for the Reanimator decks, you're going to be punished here. And he's going to go fetch. Dustin knows what's going on. I think Dustin is fairly confident that this is the play he has to make.
Yeah, we are exactly where we're at. If you can't be forcible here, then that's fine. But there's not another path to pursue now with Deathrite Shaman.
Right. And he's going to go to 12 life because we know, or excuse me, 11. We know this reanimate will be resolving unless there's a forcible hiding in the very corner of his hand. I see Abrupt Decay, which I don't know why they leave that card in. I know it deals with Animate Dead, but that's about it. He also has Hymn to Turok, which is surprisingly not that great against this guy.
So we've reanimated a Grizzlebrand that will cause Dustin to drop some life points. He won't be able to Grizzlebrand a second time, but
yeah. So far, Andrew doesn't have a removal spell for that creature. You have Maelstrom Pulse, you have Liliana, and you have Jace, are potential answers. But I see Abrupt Decay, I see a bunch of land, I see a Brainstorm,
a Hymn,
which is obviously just awful against Dustin at this point. There's not much right now that Andrew can do. He's going to need help.
Yes, and I mean the best path that I can see from here is if he plays Baleful Strix and Dustin doesn't have another reanimation spell, it basically means Dustin gets to draw 7 exactly once. And if he doesn't draw anything that productive, if he doesn't find another reanimate spell or Force of Will, then Andrew has maybe a little bit of time to find some of the cards you're talking about, Liliana or Jace. Or
I think there's something that's a good line here. So we're going to brainstorm here because why not? We already have 2 mana if he does have Baleful Strix, and there's another Him to truck. And it's funny because Him is so good against combo. Great against combo. This is the only one where it's not so great against combo. Earlier, Dustin brainstormed in response and left a bunch of Grizzlebrands in his hand. Said, go ahead, hit me. See what happens.
Yep. Yeah, there's combo decks in Legacy like Storm that are about a critical mass. And then there's combo decks in Legacy that are just, I need A plus B.
Right.
Him is very, very good against the first class of decks and less effective against the second class of decks.
Oh, yeah, definitely. All right, so Andrew here plays a second land. He's going to fetch.
And so I imagine we're going to be casting Baleful Strix here for the reason I outlined before. It cuts Dustin off to 1 draw 7 off of Grizzlebrand, and if the draw 7 is weak, he doesn't find a backup reanimate spell.
Right. Dustin definitely in command of this game. Andrew, again, as he takes the same decision path that you say, that's the best he can do. However, it's pretty grim still at this point. He's going to need to hit a Jace ASAP, and he better not draw it right off the top here, because if he does, Dustin has that Thoughtseize in hand, so he's going to be able to Thoughtseize him, besides the plentiful amount of card draw that he's going to be using with Grizzlebrand here.
Baleful Strix resolves, finds the land.
Good thing about Exhume, too, is he's going to be able to get the Baleful Strix back, he's going to be able to draw an additional card if this attack into that happens.
So Dustin's just found Force of Will, which
That's
is
pretty good.
pretty valuable here.
I think Grizzlebrand, if he does have an Exhume over there on the far end of his hand, I think he attacks with Grizzlebrand, draws 7, and I think he then Exhumes Grizzlebrand, and then he can Thoughtseize, and then he has Force of Will up too.
He's going to lead off the turn with a draw 7.
Which is fine. I would do that first too.
Yep. Hard to go wrong with 7 new ones.
Yeah. I see Iona again in the hand. Once Iona gets in play, that usually will lock it up too. But let's see what happens here. If he has another reanimate, so he's going to be able to do so after he lifelinks. But I think he has an Exhume also, which is obviously much more attractive than spending 8 more life here.
Well, other than Andrew also gets to
Baleful
get
Strix.
his Strix back as well, which puts Dustin kind of in the same spot the following turn.
Right.
And as time goes on,
Plus
Andrew,
7 cards, the only difference. But yeah, definitely similar combat board situation. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So he's going to block here. We see all this coming. We're going to lifelink. We're going to gain all of our life back that we spent to draw cards. Going to 11, and now we're going to reanimate and bring him back. Oh, Baleful Strix. Right. All right, and then he's going to Exhume. I like it.
This is a really sweet line here from Dustin.
I like it. Yep, he's going to read it, and he's going to see that you can do this. You can animate dead their creatures. Anyone who's a big cube expert knows you can do all these fun things with these reanimates.
So he gets to save a lot of life getting his Crystalbrand back, and again doesn't have to deal with the Baleful Strix, the annoyingness of exhuming that and giving Andrew another blocker, allowing him to draw another card. It gives him some Edict protection, so this is just
I mean,
totally sweet.
Liliana is definitely null and void at this point. And now Jace is pretty much the only scary card. But Andrew, we know he doesn't have a Jace. He would have to draw it right off the top here. And even if he does draw it, Dustin is drawing so many cards here. He's not obviously going to draw 7 more here, but he's going to be able to put Grizzlebrand in play. And even if he bounces it, I think Dustin's holding Thoughtseize. So a lot of times these Reanimator decks will be able to Thoughtseize themselves in order to put it back in the graveyard.
Run just right back.
Yeah. So we're going to see an Exhume here.
Well, maybe not. I think he's debating.
In his hand,
I think he's debating Entomb and Reanimate.
To get, he's going to go get Elish Norn here to kill Deathfire Shaman, which is fine too. He's literally just going to play it as safe as possible, and he doesn't really need Grizzlebrand anymore at this point. He's already drawn pretty much every card he could ever want. He'll need eventually probably to gain some life back, but at this point he has Force of Will, and if he goes and entombs and gets Elish Norn and brings it back, then Andrew's outs are super limited here.
Yeah.
So here comes Elish Norn.
We're assuming here.
Yeah.
That'd be, yeah.
And here he is, and he's going to go ahead and reanimate. He's going to bring back Elish Norn. He's going to kill Deathfire Shaman. And every card in Andrew's deck, every creature card in his deck besides Tarmogoyf is toast. Only problem with this play now is that Dustin will never have the life to reanimate again. But then again, he can go the Exhume reanimate dead route.
Yeah, he gets to cast 1 more Force of Will this game, basically, is the cost of this.
Right.
If he can Exhume Grizzlebrand and Lifelink, maybe it's a different story, but that's over several turns and kind of assumes that Andrew is putting up no resistance.
Right. And at this point, Andrew's going to probably him to Turok him. Pray that he hits the Exhume cards, because the only chance I see Andrew having in this game is to make sure that Grizzlebrand never sees play again.
But
and then that's not really a great proposition either.
And we're also setting aside the clock that Andrew's over. If Dustin reanimates, or exhumes rather.
Well, yeah, once he passed turn, so the Exhume is actually just going to beat Andrew here. I don't see, now he has, I think, no outs. Because even if he draws Maelstrom Pulse, he's going to get Force of Will. So he's going to Exhume here, he's going to get back, he can get back Iona. Actually, he can get back, he can choose. He can have a good time. He gets back Iona, he wins. He gets back Grizzlebrand, he really wins. It's just up to him to decide what he wants to get. So he's going to Abrupt Decay here, maybe set up maybe a Liliana situation here. But he's going to realize that, hi, my name's Dustin. I have 10 more reanimate spells in my hand.
Well, this is kind of a tough spot for Dustin now.
Well, I don't know what's he can't really counter this, so it's going to die.
Well, I mean, his whole plan of just exhuming now is a little more awkward as Andrew gets to draw another card and gets another chump blocker.
Yeah. Well, he doesn't get chump blockers of the Elishnorn, so it's but he will draw another card, get to dig a little bit deeper. Yeah. So here comes. I mean, you still exhume here. You get back your Grizzlebrand and move on with your life here. You can also get back Iona. You would name Blue here, so because Jace is a real scary one, because an Edict here is not exactly too bad for you. And remember, there's only one copy of Liliana in Andrew's deck. What do you think? Yeah, either one's fine here, I think.
I guess I would err towards...
Being at 2, I kind of want Grizzlebrand. That's my only thing. But then again, he's dead in one swing from Iona. How much is that from Iona? Iona is a 7/7, 9/9 with Elishnorn. That's 13. He's going to get Grizzlebrand. A safe play here. And Andrew just... You see, he has so many cards that just don't do enough. Cards like... Oh, and here's the Pithing Needle.
I think that if Andrew respawn, well, I think that he's gonna. I would actually name Misty Rainforest if Andrew doesn't respond.
Oh, okay. Well, he named Jace.
Yeah, named Jace the Mind Sculptor.
Misty Rainforest would have been a way better name. A little tech get you. I remember back in the day against High Tide, you play your Pithing Needle main. You're like, okay, you're like Blue Delta, and then you just are real happy when they don't sack it because they can't do it. But we have a no out situation here. Andrew has all but concession left in his future.
On our other side of the bracket, Mike McKay playing Jund has beaten Richard Germer playing Rug Delver, so we will have Jund moving on to the semifinals to face Goblins.
Here, Andrew, and I want to take my hat off for him here. He won a game here, and he won a game when they played earlier, and this is just a super tough matchup. It's almost impossible to describe, because we talked about Goblins against Merfolk. I think this is actually even tougher without any graveyard hate.
I don't think it's. I mean, it's definitely bleak. Andrew has a couple tools. The problem is he has so much dead stuff in his deck. He has spot removal.
Right. I can't even think of a series of cards with 10 mana he could do to beat this particular board in front of him. He would need Maelstrom Pulse plus Liliana, 6 mana in 1 turn, to put up any fight here. And that's the thing about Bug. You play Abrupt Decay because it's just awesome. It's awesome against everything. And that's why cards like big guys like this and Notion Thief are almost unkillable by this deck, because they decided instead of playing one of these and one of these removal spells and 2 Maelstrom Pulse, we're going to play 4 Abrupt Decay because 90% of the format this kills.
And it's also so important against similar decks, is the other thing.
Right. I mean, you can't just let Deathrite Shaman go crazy on you, and it's uncounterable. Obviously, much more important in Legacy than it is in Standard.
So we're going to see a second Hymn Resolve here.
There's more cards off screen, so he's going to... Alright, so he's been hymned to death. Nice little... See? I'm going to take out your whole hand here. And I'm just going to kill you with all these guys.
So that's 13 coming across, I believe.
Yep. Dustin goes to 9.
11.
Or 11, excuse me. He gains 9. Tap 1. Thought sees you.
So there's a hand of Deathrite Shaman, Ancestral, and some lands. And just passes the turn.
And we're going to extend the hand here.
Yeah.
Frustrating for Andrew. A good player, and Dustin also is a great player. You get paired against a deck like this, and it's just grim.